Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dolany TV. I'm Tyson Dolany, ready to get you through today's roster moves, injury news, and of course Edmonton Oilers discussion, because this is one that, well, all of a sudden we're at a crossroads for a guy like Matt Benning, and this is where it gets really fun for Edmonton Oilers general manager Ken Holland, because you knew decision time was coming. No matter where or what walk of life you are from in Edmonton Oilers land, you knew decision day with the defense was coming at some point. And of course, when we activated Adam Larsson, Matt Benning went out on concussion protocol. So we kind of, we lost one for another, and we didn't have to make the decision then. Well, now let me read you the release from the Edmonton Oilers, who have activated Matt Benning and placed Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on the IR, retroactive to either Sunday or Monday. I've seen conflicting reports. The Athletic in Edmonton has Sunday. TSN 1260 in Edmonton has Monday. So let's get this straight away, because this is interesting for the Edmonton Oilers. Activating Matt Benning, that now brings things in to consideration that we've got Caleb Jones up here. Yes, okay, you have to send down Caleb Jones. I don't think there's an if, and, or but about it for the Edmonton Oilers when it comes to getting Caleb Jones back in the minors and getting him some poise and confidence back in his game, because he has not had much luck with that in the NHL this year. Just based on, well, you know what, I don't know if Klefbom's his strongest partner, right? Obviously, yeah, but it was out of necessity that Mr. Caleb Jones was put with Klefbom and be a chance to prove himself, and he proved not quite ready, and that's fine, guys. That's fine. Defensemen, honestly, of Jones and Bears caliber, if at 22 they're not ready, keep them seasoning. 24 is really the window in which you have to make the decision on them, and that's, well, what leads into Matt Benning's whole mess here with the Edmonton Oilers and the decision that needs to be made. Matt Benning, who will be 26 after this year ends in May. Well, that's an older defenseman now on the Edmonton Oilers D-core. He's 25 right now, so like I said, decision time came and went last offseason, but he was signed to a 2-year deal, so it is what it is. Matt Benning, what you need to know about him so far this year. Let's get to the stats, because this is where I'll begin the argument and discuss things as they go. So for Matt Benning, he's had 23 games played, 5 assists, and a +8 rating. That's what everybody generally kind of sits here and points to with Matt Benning, is the plus-minus rating. Well, okay. Let's just, for a second, calculate the fact that with Matt Benning, he doesn't play, how would I say it, top pair minutes, mid-pair minutes. He's a bottom-pairing defenseman. Now, if I can find the stat in the I know what I'm looking for on what do you call it, on this site, hockeyreference.com. Give me a second here. 25-year-old season, the 1920 season. So let's get this straight away. Is for Matt Benning, his plus minus this season in the total goals for against, he's been on the ice for 15 goals for and 8 goals against, if I've got this correct. Total goals against. One of those is a power play marker, so that averages out to the +8 rating. Now, obviously, this is not really that fantastic in numbers for Matt Benning, but what you do need to know is, if I can find it here on it somewhere. I know what I'm looking for, guys. Sorry. I thought I had this already, but I always get turned around by good old, what do you call it? Hockeyreference.com. Well, okay, let's get to it, because you look at Matt Benning's ice time this year. He's played 1352. Okay, so he's effective in his plus-minus rating, if that's what you want to go off of. But that's a myth that that's really any good judgment of a defenseman. 1352, I mean, unless it's a big plus or big negative. And with this Oilers team, the weapons we have up front, and the argument that can be made, +8, I think with Matt Benning, it's more of a situational strategy that he's out there for those plus goals instead of on the ice for goals against. But again, he's only been out there for 8 total goals against. So yeah, you know what? I'll cut him some slack and I'll see where you're coming from and I'll reason with you. But that's not the point I'm trying to make here. Is the point of matter of fact of playing spot in the lineup. Okay? So let's look at Matt Benning's spot in this lineup. As I said, bottom pairing defenseman in there with Chris Russell this year. Well, here's what we've got that can kind of fill that out. Right now, we've got Bear, Jones, Larson in there. Okay? So obviously, yes, Benning steals, well, Jones's spot. I've already said that. I don't need to debate that. What I do need to debate is the simple fact of Joel Persson. And this is where it gets really friggin' interesting for Edmonton Oilers fans, because Joel Persson is the problem causer for Matt Benning. And this is, I mean, I don't want to sit here and say Joel Persson's going to get rid of Matt Benning for us, because technically not so much. But Joel Persson is a guy, obviously the stat says we're 8-1-1 or 9-1-0 in games Joel Persson's an Edmonton Oilers, so that's a weird stat to start the year. He's an even 0 in the plus-minus category, but what we saw to Joel Persson is he's not quite ready for prime time in the NHL. But now we send him down to the AHL. He's played 4 games down there, and he's had 5 points, a goal, and 4 assists. And I mean, by all accounts, from what I saw on social media, his best game was that game just a few nights ago. Well, suddenly, ladies and gentlemen, that is where we get to the conundrum, right? Because Matt Benning at $1.9 million, in every eventuality of Edmonton Oilers hockey, we have to lose defensemen at the end of the year. That's just what the cap says, whether it be Adam Larson, whether it be Matt Benning, whether it be a guy like Chris Russell, we have to lose 1 to 2 of our defensemen this offseason, because you got to sign Ethan Bear, you got to sign Darnell Nurse. Obviously, yes, we're losing Brandon Manning, but he's kind of the odd man out because he's not on that right side, so we don't really need to discount this factor here. But we will get to the Brandon Manning question in a second. And of course, you've got a guy like Matt Benning. Sorry, I saw Kyle Brodziak's name there at 1.9, and then he's an RFA. So that's the complication factor. Is you've got Joel Persson, you've got Brandon Manning, you've got Darnell Nurse, Ethan Bear, Caleb Jones, Evan Bouchard, and to an extent whoever else on the farm you want to start talking about. So that's a lot. That's a lot of defensemen that we have to find spots for moving forward. And Matt Benning at 25, he'll be 26 by the time it comes to sign contracts. As an RFA, does he have a fit on this team? That's exactly the question I've been asking all video, and I don't think he does. Realistically, I know I'm hard on Matt Benning, and like I say, it's nothing personal. It's, as a hockey player, where he fits, what he does, it just doesn't work for me. And everybody points to the plus minus, and that's the only argument they have. Well, you know what? Realistically, you can point there, sure. But who's to say Evan Bouchard can't do that better? Who's to say Joel Persson can't do that better, right? Like, when these guys are NHL ready, and I've argued all season long, from pretty much the start of the offseason, you had to start Evan Bouchard in the minors, but by game 41, he needed to be a full-time Oiler. Well, guys, guess what? If you've got Joel Persson complicating matters right now, guess what Evan Bouchard does? A boof of problems extra for Ken Holland and building this roster with Dave Tippett. So it's tough, because ideally, right, if we want to make that big move, you don't worry about moving Matt Benning. But at the end of the day, is the big move seems a lot longer off than seeing the small move that gets the return, that second, third, fourth, and an extra round pick, right? Obviously, you could probably ship Matt Benning out for a conditional third that turns into a second, or a straight up, you know what, second might be asking too much for Matt Benning, but trade deadline's weird. So that's what I'm saying. A conditional third seems to be about Matt Benning's playability in the trade market to me. Now you could move him for depth forward help, right? And this is the intriguing part that nobody talks about, is the underlying value, right? If we're all placing Matt Benning as this great defenseman because of his plus minus and he's steady, oh look, he's had 5 assists in 23 games. Like, if we're placing this value on Matt Benning in our lineup, imagine what value he has as a trade chip. That's all I'm going to say. If you're going to argue he's such a great defenseman, he's got trade value. And this Edmonton Oilers team is not exactly short on trade value, but we're short on figuring out how to make everything fit. And Matt Benning seems to be, especially with great trade value that I'm saying he may very well have, seems like a very easy out for Ken Holland when building this roster. Now, it's contingent on several things, right? I'm sitting here saying Matt Benning coming back is going to complicate things, and maybe the easiest complication is to move him out. Well, it depends on a couple things, right? It depends on Jones being ready. It depends on Bouchard being ready. It depends on Persson acclimatizing to the NHL game when he gets recalled. What about Brandon Manning? I've left it to last. Let's get to it. Where does Brandon Manning fit into this? And obviously, you know what? If it comes down to it, guys, I know I sound like I hate Matt Benning. I've said that already once this video. I know I do. But when it comes down to it, if you're going to ask me Brandon Manning or Matt Benning, I'm going to tell you Matt Benning every time. I don't know why I almost said Brandon Manning. Don't read anything into that. That's just me saying too many of the similar words close together. Matt Benning is my 7th defenseman every day over Brandon Manning, okay? Because realistically, guys, given what we have on the right side as opposed to what we have capable on the left side, I feel better having a steady Eddie NHL guy we've had in the lineup for the past few years being able to fill in than Brandon Manning filling in on the left side, okay? Let's just be serious about that. So, guys, that's the argument, right? I think the easiest out when building this roster is Matt Benning, but I'll leave it up to the debate in the comments section. Guys, I'm Tyson, this is Stolen TV. I will catch you, as always, in the next one.